Am I depressed? The answer a couple days ago would have been no. And today I believe the answer is still the same, but something happened yesterday that kind of made me not necessarily question it, but consider that perhaps the way that I'm presenting myself to the world may give that impression. But before we get into that, let's address the elephant in the room. And in this case, I'm the elephant. Yes, I got a haircut. And ironically, even though now you see more of my face and my head, I look less skinny than I did before. Because when I have more hair up there, it makes this part of my face look thinner, which makes me look skinnier, which makes me look sicker, which makes me look like I actually have cancer rather than just having cancer and not looking like I have it, which I would say I kind of do now. I just look like I'm really skinny, that's it. Which is both good and bad. It's good because then, you don't have people staring at you all the time because, like, you know, not to judge, obviously, but as an example, bald women. Yes, some people choose that as a fashion style, as a statement for whatever reason, but most of the time when you see a bald woman, your brain goes automatically, ooh, cancer. And you automatically, it's human nature. You just kind of like look at them differently and you're like, oh, she's a cancer patient. You kind of like categorize her as a result of the way she looks. And it's the same for everything. No matter how, like who looks like what, we automatically categorize them. That's part of human nature. And that's the beauty or the upside of not looking like you have cancer, just looking like you're skinny, is that you don't get categorized as as a cancer patient, and that doesn't become your whole identity in people's eyes. The downside is every once in a while people are like, "Yeah, I don't believe you. I don't think you have cancer," but I really don't care about that at this point, and that's not the point of the video. So let's get back to the video. What happened yesterday, which made me not, as I said, not question things, but more consider perhaps how I'm presenting myself because I may be giving off the wrong impression. So yesterday, my father calls me and he's like, "Hey, how are you doing? Just calling to check in and get some news and blah blah blah." And at some point during the conversation, he mentions, "Hey, our old neighbor who's still a friend of his and his like a second father to me. I used to work with him every spring or every summer during most of my childhood and early adulthood. So it's like maybe a period of 15 years where pretty much every single year I'd work with him for at least a couple weeks, sometimes a month, sometimes a couple months on and off every single year. So he kind of became like a second father to me. Well, second slash third because I had like two of those people who would fall in the second father category. So like I don't want to like rank him or anything, but there's two of them. Anyway, so he's like, "Hey, this person called and they mentioned that you might be like going through a difficult time, maybe like you're depressed or something. Like I just wanted to check in to make sure that everything's okay." And I, of course, I appreciate the fact that this person, this second slash third father, if you will, cares about me and is concerned. And I don't know if he called my dad or they just spoke and he mentioned that in passing. I don't know the exact story, and it's really not important. But it's just the fact that someone who's close to me mentioned that made me realize, am I projecting the wrong image? Because obviously it's impossible to broadcast to showcase every aspect of my life through 10-minute videos. So I do my best to just share what I believe would be most interesting, most entertaining, and is the best representation of what I'm currently going through. And it's not because, let's say, I make a video of how every single day when I wake up I'm sore, and I'm sore when I wake up throughout the night, and I wake up dozens of times throughout the night, and it's just, uncomfortable, and I end up being exhausted and tired as a result of that. It's like, yeah, I'm sharing that because that is an aspect of my life, that is something that's going on, that I'm going through. But I worry that, well, not really I worry, but I'm just wondering, and yesterday that whole conversation with my father kind of got me thinking about that. I'm just wondering, like, is me showing those aspects of my life, painting a picture that is inaccurate. Because, yeah, okay, there are stuff like that that currently suck in my life, but there's also periods that I enjoy. There's periods where I'm happy. There's periods where I talk to friends. There's periods where, well, I mean, I don't necessarily do stuff as in like physical activities and stuff like that because I'm still limited on that front. But I still mostly enjoy my life. Yes, there's difficult periods. And in general, that's kind of the more storytelling worthy elements of my life. So that's what I tend to share. But I just want to make sure that I don't give off the impression that everything in my life sucks, that I wish I were dead, that, I wish this was all over and, I'm depressed and everything sucks. It's like, yes, the last 3 months have been very difficult, have been very intense. And there were periods where, as I mentioned in certain videos, like if I had met my wife and I didn't, have her as that motivation, that reason to keep fighting, to keep living, to build a future together and build a family and everything, I probably would have given up, or I would be at the point where I'd be about to give up because it just keeps piling on and piling on. And it's like, I get how that could give the impression that I'm depressed, but I'm not. And just to kind of make sure, because I like to have other people's opinion, especially people close to me, just because they know me best and they're better at judging, well, not better, but they're in a better position to judge what is and isn't accurate. So I asked my wife and I asked one of my best friends who I know watch my videos regularly. I'm like, hey, is that the image that I'm projecting? And my friend is like, no, that's not really it. But once again, I know you on a more personal level. There's certain aspects of you and parts of your personality that I get to experience that people don't necessarily get to experience through your videos. So I understand perhaps why that person would be concerned. But once again, it depends on that person's perspective and your relationship with them and everything. And since they are kind of like a second father to me, I could understand why they would be more concerned than the average viewer on YouTube who's never actually met me in person. And my wife, however, had a different opinion. When I asked her, hey, like, is that the impression I'm giving off? Do you think that I'm depressed? Her answer was yes. And that really surprised me. And, we had kind of a little back and forth. Not an argument, just like so I can try to understand. Because I'm like, wait, I seem depressed? You think I'm depressed? Like, really? Because I've never been depressed in my life, and I don't think I am now, and I don't think I will ever be just because of the type of person that I am. But the fact that, my own wife thinks that really made me think about things. But throughout the conversation, I realized that she didn't mean depressed as in I have depression. Because, depression, the way I see it is there's two types of, depression, sadness, whatever you want to call that, category of emotions and feelings and everything. So to me, there's the depression, which is most of the time throughout the day, you're feeling sad. And those types of emotions, sadness, depression, loneliness, anxiety, those types of things. And yes, there might be good moments throughout that, but that is the major theme of your life. And it keeps going for weeks and months and years. And some people, spend their entire life being depressed. So to me, that is one category. And then there's sadness, which is just, yes, some periods of the day, some days through the weeks, and some weeks sometimes in the month, and some months in the year, you're sadder than you normally are. But that doesn't mean you're depressed. It's just something temporary that you're going through, something external that is affecting you. Whereas I believe, or my interpretation of depression is it's just something from inside and it paints how you interact with the world. Whereas sadness is something external that affects how you feel inside. So to me, it's more the latter. It's more the, yeah, okay, the last 3 months have been really intense. There have been intense moments of pain and sadness and exhaustion and all those things, but I do not consider myself depressed as a result of that. I know it's just temporary and I'm going through the experience and experiencing it as much as I can because I know that it's happening for a reason. Even though it sucks, I'm not necessarily enjoying it. I know that it's temporary. So for me, that's kind of been the last 3 months on and off. And especially the last weeks, I feel like I've been doing much better, even though it's like, yeah, okay, there's ups and downs, and sometimes I have trouble breathing, and sometimes the coughing is more intense, and you know, whatever it is, there's always ups and downs. But to me, it's just temporary. So because of that, it surprised me when my wife was like, yeah, I think you're depressed. But that's the thing. First of all, there's always the language barrier where things don't always mean exactly the same thing in Spanish as it does in English. Plus, there's the fact that every person has their own interpretation of depression and sadness and being depressed and all those things. Everybody has a different definition for stuff like that. So that also comes into consideration. So for her, basically, she meant like, I'm depressed, but I don't have depression, which is pretty much the equivalent of what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, okay, sometimes I'm sad, sometimes it sucks, like it's a difficult period that I'm going through, which in her terms would be I'm temporarily depressed, but I do not have depression. It's not chronic, it's not long term, it hasn't become who I am. Which, from my definition, is I'm not depressed, I'm just sad sometimes. It's life is difficult. So I think we're both saying the same thing. So basically, I'm pretty sure that even though, yes, she said, yes, I believe you're depressed, I don't think that's what she was saying really. And I think our understanding of what I'm going through is relatively similar because I share everything with her. But it just kind of took me aback when I asked, like, up front, like, straight up, like, hey, do you think I'm depressed? And she said yes. And, you know, then that plus my second/third father mentioning that to my dad. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not necessarily, it's maybe the fact that I'm presenting certain aspects of my life over others is giving that impression. So I just wanted to make a video to address that. And I'm not necessarily going to change what I share because the whole point is sharing the experience of having cancer. And yes, even though there's good periods, it's like, hey, today was a good day. I chilled and watched TV all day. Like, let's be honest, that's not a very entertaining, it's not exactly a story worthy thing to discuss. Whereas I'm sore all the time when I wake up, there's no comfortable position. That's more entertaining storytelling wise. Plus, it's more accurate of what I'm going through in the experience of having stage 4 cancer and going through that. So that's why I'm sharing that. I just wanted to make sure that you understand, like, it is just a facet of who I am, of my daily life, of what I'm going through. I just wanted to make sure that you understand, like, yes, the last 3 months have been difficult. Yes, it is slowly getting better, but there are ups and there are downs. I just want to make sure you understand I don't believe that I'm depressed. Maybe I'm delusional, and I am, and I don't realize it, but I don't think so. I think I'm dealing with this in the best way that I can. I think I'm making the most of the situation and just sharing the story as I go along. So I thought it was important to make this video, but I don't think this will affect or change anything or the way that I present things. So just wanted to put it out there. Thank you for watching. Hopefully everything that I shared makes sense, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.